What's up, guys? John and Travis here with another fantastic intro to another fantastic episode of Elbows Tight Podcast. John, how was that?
It was good. I really enjoyed it. I think Drew's a funny guy. He's got a good personality, and I enjoyed the interview.
Yeah, we have Drew Phoenix. He is a black belt down in South Florida. Guy is hilarious. He's big on social media, posts some fantastic, hilarious reels on his Instagram page. All of his links are going to be down in the description below, so make sure you guys go follow him because it is well worth the follow. He is hilarious, man. I'm just waiting for his following to blow up even more, especially because he does really relatable content. We talk a lot about that in the episode. So, John, what are some other things we talk about in this episode?
I'll tell you what I really enjoyed is from a person that is non technology orientated. I understood when he was giving advice on social media and how you should do content. I thought that was super interesting, and I was like, all right, I get it. I got it.
Yeah. He goes deep into how to excel on Instagram right now and how to be better at reels and use trending topics. And so it's really, if there's anyone out there that wants to grow their Instagram following, this would be a good episode for you to listen to, whether you're a podcast or you just want more Instagram followers. Reels are the way to do it, and Drew makes some great reels and gives fantastic insight on how to do reels. Also, we talk about gym enforcers. What else? Dick moves in jiu-jitsu and competitive jiu-jitsu.
I liked anyone that has talks about Stevie Wonder. That's a good guy.
Very true. Very, very true. And we also, a big part of why we had him on too is he is a Marine Corps veteran, combat veteran, and got to do some pretty cool stuff in the Marine Corps. So we talk about that at the beginning of the episode, being a veteran and how important jiu-jitsu and martial arts is for veterans in the mental health, because a lot of veterans commit suicide because of lack of direction and they don't know what to do after their service. So it's very interesting to hear his take on it. So hopefully you guys enjoy it and it doesn't throw you off too big of a loop from just jiu-jitsu. So
go ahead and give it a listening. Give us some comments.
Yeah, hit us up on the Instagram. Let us know what you guys think of this episode. Follow us on Instagram, Elbows Tight Pod, YouTube, Elbows Tight Pod, or Elbows Tight on YouTube now. And then all of our links to all of our socials can be down below. So make sure you guys follow us. And that's pretty much it. Johnny, got anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you later. Peace. What's up, everyone? John and Travis here with another episode of Elbows Tight Pod. I said I wasn't going to say that,
you did it.
And you're so
used to it.
I'm so used to it. I'm trying to stop it. I already tell you guys at the beginning of the episode, it's an episode of Elbows Tight Podcast, and then I repeat myself, it's an episode of Elbows Tight Podcast. So I'm like, maybe we should stop doing that. But today we have a very special guest, Drew Phoenix. How you doing today, man?
Good, brothers. How y'all doing?
We are doing fantastic, dude. Thanks so much for coming on the show today. I'm excited for this. Your
Yes,
reels have me dying, man. Like the first one I saw was the wrist lock one. You're a jerk, and
that was my favorite.
Yeah,
I was like, oh man, this is so funny. I shared it on our Instagram and everything like that. I was like, it's so funny because I always try to wrist lock people, and they're like, dude, stop!
You're a jerk.
That's not even the technique. I'm like, I don't even care, man.
Yeah, they're everywhere. So
yeah, right.
In the gi, especially.
Oh man, I know. There's a Pete the Geek. His whole thing is wrist lock the world, and I see some of the things. I'm like, I didn't even think about that. And I'm gonna go buy that instructional and just mess with everyone, and they're probably gonna be really mad, especially when you come back.
I've made it my mission to stop wrist locking people because that's all they just know it's coming nonstop. So I'm like, that's it. I got to switch it up.
Come on, man. Wrist locks and heel hooks. That's the way.
Yeah,
that is the
way. White belt, you got to get them right.
Right. Learn.
Hey, Drew, let's go ahead and before we get to know who you are, let's go into what's your beverage of the day.
So I'm actually keeping it healthy today, guys. I got some kombucha.
Yeah.
I ate a bunch of fruits before training, and then today was my first day back rolling because my knee's been hurt for a while. So I was like, let me just keep it healthy. I passed by the liquor. I was looking at it too on the way up. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna keep it healthy.
Gonna be a role model today, and a different type of fermented drink today.
There you go.
I'm gonna have to try that stuff. I see it, every time I go in the grocery store, but I'm like, I don't know, man. It feels like,
dude, I think it's definitely an acquired taste. It's like beer, right? It's like you might not like it right at first, but then it kind of grows on you. Like you mentioned before we started recording, the health benefits of it are great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like gut health and makes you poop easier and all that good stuff. So you got to try it.
I had an apple cider in Seattle. I was at Purple. Well, I'm gonna tell you what.
That's like, what does that have to do with kombucha?
I had to sign a waiver because you could get like ill and die off of it.
Oh, I remember you telling me about that.
The bacteria that was in it. And I always equate that to this drink. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah.
Apparently it's good bacteria. It hasn't killed me yet.
Yeah. How long have you been drinking kombucha?
I'm gonna tell you, like when I was back in 2012, I went through like this real like hippie phase. I was a combat hippie. And I was drinking kombucha and all that other craziness. We went to Peru, did ayahuasca. Like I was on it. So.
Yeah. I've only drank it a couple of times, and it doesn't really bother me too much. But I know people that like live and die by kombucha. They're like, you need to drink it like 20 ounces a day, and first thing in the morning. I'm like, bro, chill out. You sound like a CrossFitter right now. It's like.
That'll be our drink.
Oh, and I actually won. This is interesting. I actually won a keg of kombucha. My first competition match at black belt was a no time limit sub only match, and the winner got a whole keg of kombucha. So
dang.
Yeah.
Was it good at least, or was it like you're like, no wonder they're giving it away for a keg?
It was good, but like having it in the keg, like all it does is keep getting stronger and fermenting more. So by the time I finished that thing, I was getting drunk off of it. Like, this is crazy.
Like, I'm trying to be healthy. I'm over here getting hammered.
Hammered breakfast. You know what I mean?
Oh. That's so funny. All right. Well, hey, Drew, let's go ahead and jump into who you are and how you got into jiu-jitsu and everything.
All right. So, Drew, Andrew, if the government's looking for me, I was in the Marine Corps for 5 years. I got out. I started training jiu-jitsu. And I tore my ACL in 2012, went through nasty depression, came out of that, got my black belt in 2020, started my own school, and been doing that ever since. Oh, I got a kid too. He's cute.
Does he do jiu-jitsu?
Man, he's 2, so he just like lives on the mats with me though. Like I always had a dream that my kid would live on the mats with me. And when he shows up, he's like, "Daddy's gym." Right.
So that's a full-time job for you then, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
How did you get into jiu-jitsu? Was it in the Marine Corps with the Marine Corps' combat? What is it called? MAPS or McMap?
No, that's not how I got into it. So my last 3 years in the Marine Corps, I did MSG duty. So that's a special duty assignment where you guard embassies. And I was in West Africa. Now, at this point, I didn't like UFC because I was like, if we're talking about 2006, 2007, I didn't like UFC because I was like, what are they doing on the ground? Right? Lo and behold, I'm black belt now. So I never liked it. But one day I got off a post and the Marines were watching Rampage versus Forrest for when they fought for the title. And when Rampage lost, Joe Rogan asked him, he's like, "Why'd you lose?" And he's like, "He just whooped my ass. Like, what do you want me to tell you?" So that like intrigued me. So I went to post that night because I had night shift like a couple days in a row. And I just watched Rampage Jackson, all his interviews, all of his pride fights. And in one of his interviews, he said, they asked him like, who was the greatest fighter? And he said, BJ Penn. So I'm like, who's BJ Penn? So then I go and watch videos of him jumping out of the pool and becoming the first American black belt to win the worlds in 3 years at black belt in Brazil. And I was like, what is this jiu-jitsu stuff? So then I just started watching UFC like a madman because one of the Marines that were there, somebody sent him like all the UFCs. Like it was like UFC 100 at the time, and he had like up to UFC 90. So I stole that thing from him, and I just was watching UFC after UFC, all the Ultimate Fighters, and I just got so fascinated with jiu-jitsu. And then like anytime like the Marines would try to like, wrestle around with me, like I'll be like throwing them in arm bars and triangles. I didn't even know what the hell I'm doing. And then a week after I got out, I started, and then I haven't stopped since.
That's awesome. How long did it take you to get your black belt then?
Let's say 7 years total mat time, but there was 3 years I was out after my ACL.
That's still really good. I don't know. Even coming back after a major injury like a MCL, that's like a really, really nice, man. Like,
yeah, that's good.
We've been doing it for what, 4 or 5 years coming up on now. We're just blue belts. We're blue belts, which is a good thing. But so when you were in the Marine Corps, that's so funny you mentioned about how you like pass things around, because in the Navy we have like hard drives. Right,
Yeah.
I joined in like 2009.
I
like
know
everyone,
what's on those hard drives, buddy.
yeah. That's not this kind of episode, right? But we'll pass around like they have like bootleg movies or whatever.
Yeah.
Then you go to like the Philippines and they have all like the bootleg DVDs that you could download and whatnot.
Watching people get up and walk around the movie
Yeah,
theater.
those are the best.
Yeah.
So it's funny you mentioned that, because that's the first thing I hit. I still have my hard drive from when like I was like a fresh sailor, and it's like a 1 terabyte. It has like 10,000 songs on it, 16 movies. I'm like, man, those are the good old days. Like, hey, bro, you got a hard drive? Like, let me copy your hard drive.
Yeah.
Deployment? Hell yeah.
Yeah. So, what made you want to be a Marine?
When I was about to graduate high school, lack of male role models. Like my dad wasn't around. Like my uncles, they were around, but they weren't. And I went to all the branches of the military, and when I walked into the Marine Corps office, I seen that one iconic poster we have, where it's like that one short drill instructor like screaming at the dude, and it says, we don't promise you a rose garden. And I was like, what is this rose garden you speak of? And then it was like, if I could do the hardest branch of the military, then I could do anything in my life. So it was a test for myself. And the uniforms look cool too.
I was gonna say that. I didn't want to like pat the Marine Corps on the back at all, but man, they got the sharpest looking uniforms, bro. Whenever they came on board the ship, I was like, all the ladies like, oh my god, it's the Marines. Like, that's nothing, man.
We're over here.
You guys are like that too. Don't lie.
No, our uniforms are horrible now. You can't tell a sailor from the Army or anything now. They all wear those camis.
Now they're all trying to be like the same color digis and whatnot, and I'm like, well, it's better because we had that horrible blue digi camo for a while. I don't know if you ever saw that. I was like, when it first came out, I was like, everyone's like, oh yeah, it turns orange when you get in the water. Like, the Navy ain't gonna invest that much money. Like, you fall into the water, your ass is dead. That's the quickest way to lose some sailors. They're like, we need to downsize. Turn those motherfuckers blue in the water.
Yeah.
It was dungarees for me.
Yeah, I started off with utilities too. What year did you join?
Before
you said 06?
04.
04? Yeah.
I was from 04 to 09.
Yeah, I joined right at 09, beginning of 09, and kind of the same thing. Like I was a welder before the Navy. I went to high school for welding, and in 2008 when I graduated, what happened? The recession hit really hard, and like all the unions were like, I grew up in Vegas, and it's a heavy trade and construction town. So once the recession hit, like all the construction stopped, and I was like, dang man, well it looks like I can't be a union welder. And so my instructor at my trade school was like, hey, if you want to make this a career, join the pipe fitters union or the Navy. And I was like, well, I guess I'll go talk to the Navy recruiter. And I walked in and I was like, hey, I want to join the Navy. And the recruiter was like, oh yeah, let's do it, and never looked back. I loved it. It was a huge part of my life. The reason why, I have this podcast, like Best Friends and whatnot. And
that's awesome.
And the thing that astonishes me is how many veterans do jiu-jitsu or some sort of like martial arts. You know what I mean? Like our school is 90% veterans or active duty. We also live in a Navy town. We live in Bremerton. So it's like, we have the Marines up here too for guarding some stuff. And so many veterans do it. It's crazy, man.
That's one of the questions I actually liked that you guys sent me. Why
do so many veterans do martial arts? Why do you think that is?
Oh yeah, so y'all gonna see my nerd hat come on right now, because I'm a big nerd. So Dr. Robert Moore, he has this book called King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. Are you guys familiar with it?
I am not, and he's a big reader. There you go.
Okay, so this book breaks down the masculine archetypes, right? King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. Now we all have them all in us, but you tend to lean towards two. And depending on where you're at in your life, right? So like when you're growing up, you're probably like, we were probably like warrior lovers, and now we're kind of transitioning into king magician. So like, think of the Ninja Turtles, right? Leonardo would be the king, right? The warrior, Leonardo would be the king, right? So the king issues orders, right? He maintains order of the kingdom. Raphael's the warrior, right? He just takes the orders of the king and he just executes, right? He just executes. Michelangelo would be the lover, right? He just loves everything that he's doing. Okay, and then Donatello will be the magician. He has skills. He's very skilled. He makes magic with things, right? So if you think about a person that will sign up to defend the Constitution versus all enemies, foreign and domestic, there is a warrior in you that just like wants to go out there and do warrior shit. Now, if you think about like the cartoons most of us watched when we were younger, it was like Ninja Turtles, like a lot of fighting. We all like Bruce Lee, like it's like those just that something about fighting that just we just liked, right? And I think it's so from reading the book, and seeing like what the warrior archetype was, it's like you don't necessarily have to be like an infantryman to like have the warrior archetype. You just a warrior in your spirit, which means that you just like to take action and you like to be fighting something. So you take a person like that joins the military, when they get out, they still have to fight something, or else we're going to start fighting ourselves, which is part of the reason why I feel like the veteran suicide rate is so high, right? Because it's not only combat veterans that this is happening to, it's all veterans, right? So you think about it, it's like we have something to fight for, but then when we come out, we have no direction. So we just start fighting ourselves.
Yes.
So that's why jujitsu is so healing. It's because we get to have a place, a safe space where we could come to, and there's people of like mind, and we come and we exercise that warrior energy, get it all out. And then what happens after we train? We just sit on the mat and talk shit.
Yeah. It's true, man. I think you always man, I'm starting really bad. You always hear about the therapeutic side of jiu-jitsu, right? Like people use it to, release energy and whatnot. I definitely feel like before I go to class, you shared this reel. Like before jiu-jitsu class, like you're angry, everything's
road
getting
rage,
to you. Yeah, exactly. And then you get done with class and it's like everything, whatever. It feels so good. And I know there's a couple foundations out there that help veterans, especially, ones that from combat that use jujitsu and martial arts and whatnot for those therapeutic reasons. Cause it feels so good. I think it's weird when you first start, like you wouldn't think that you like getting your ass kicked, but it's like, it's addicting. You know what I mean? Like you especially when you roll with a higher belt and you're like, dude, I'm just getting my ass kicked. You're like, but really, I just want to know how the hell to do this.
Or you're gonna be laughing if you're rolling with me, because I'm always saying shit like, what you gonna do besides piss me off? What you think you're doing with that?
That's
Like,
right.
I love, you can tell, like, I love being on the mat. And you're right, like that therapeutic value, and like they are companies. Like my gym is partnered with We Defy Foundation.
Yeah, those ones.
So you fit a certain criteria and you get to train for free for a year. So yeah, it's just something about it where it's just like that. You be pissed off and then you get on the mat and you get it out. I had to explain to my girl. She's like, she was watching UFC with me, and she's like, "How is it that you guys could beat the shit out of each other and then like hug afterwards?" She's like, "I don't understand that." And I was like, "It's just something about it." I don't know,
It's
like,
true. It's so true, man. And I think a big thing that in the military is that camaraderie, right? Like you go through
yeah.
adversity with each other. And so you build this special relationship, right? Like some of my best friends in the world are from the military, and it's not, we don't
Yeah.
talk with each other all the time. We rarely ever see each other. But when you see them, it's like, like, man, we've been through some shit. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's family, right? And I feel like jiu-jitsu kind of fills that void of the camaraderie. Like to me, that's probably the biggest thing. It's not only is it therapeutic, but it allows you to go through something with someone else and have that common value. You know what I mean?
Like, I agree. You see what they're made out of. You see it when you're on deployment. Like you see what people are made out of, like you see who they really are. And you also get that in jiu-jitsu because you can't fake it on the mats. So I just think you get like that same camaraderie, because there'll be people on the match like, all right, this guy, I'm done with him. Same way when you're on deployment, you're like, all right, like we're good. Like you can't hide.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
exactly.
And it's like, it's funny too, because you'll see these people that you're like, man, that looks like a tough guy, and then they get on the mat for the first time, and like you'll have just 6 months after training, it feels day versus a day one that has no experience. You're like, there it goes right there. Like I knew this was coming. You know what I mean? Like you can see like the baddest dude on the street, and like if they don't have any kind of training, it doesn't matter if the medals they've earned or anything like that. Like and once they step on the mat, it's a whole different world, and I love it, man. It is so fun.
It's like major pain.
I love seeing guys get destroyed by purple belt females. It's just something about that, like it just humbles you. Like, oh shit.
Yeah, right.
That's one thing I haven't experienced yet. I've never rolled with like a high level female, and I've been wanting to, because I'm like, man, I just want to see like it truly when like technique just like overcomes all, man. Like that is like so impressive to me. And there's a couple of females in this area that are like brown and black and whatnot, but I just haven't had the experience of rolling with them. And I think it's like that's just a testament to jujitsu, right? Is like, or you like if you watch like military BJJ on Instagram, like they always have like women beating up like other Marines and whatnot. I was like,
Yeah,
that shit is so funny because you know in their head they're like, oh, I ain't got to worry about that. It's like,
yeah, yeah. I remember as a blue belt, I was going against this female black belt, Sophia Armorante, and at this point, this is when there wasn't a lot of black belts, period, especially female black belts. So she was a brown belt, and in the worlds they did brown and black mixed.
oh wow.
I forgot who it was that she beat to win the worlds, but like it was some some female black belt that was like multiple time world champion, and Sophia beat her and got promoted on the podium. So, I mean, she's like 4 foot nothing, like she's small, right? But she is like the embodiment of jujitsu. So when I was a blue belt, we were training, right? And I jump on her back and like I sink my hooks in. I'm like, yeah, I got her. And a split second, I crossed my feet and her little leg came up, and I was like, ah! Right, but that was good for the ego, you know. It's
Yeah,
like I'm not just gonna smash her, try to outpower her. Like she understands jujitsu way more than I do.
yeah. It's incredible what framing will do. Like you'll feel like you're crushing someone, but if they got some good frames in there, it's like, oh yeah, you ain't doing nothing. You're just tiring yourself out. Like go ahead, just keep going, man. Like you're just wasting all your energy and then make it easier for me after this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, keep the elbows tight.
Yeah, that's right, baby. So what was your service like as a Marine? And what is like the thing that you missed the most about it?
I miss the adventure. Right, there's a lot of shit that I did in the Marine Corps that I'm probably never gonna do again in my life. Right, like being able when I was on MSG duty, right, when I was on embassy duty, being able to travel to these different countries with a diplomatic passport. You know, I got a black passport. I'm going in the diplomatic lines, right? I'm living in different countries. Like I was in Africa, then I went to China. I got in trouble in China. I almost got kicked off the program, and then I went to. They sent me back to Africa, but I had a blast. You know, it's 5 Marines in a house. We have a house to ourselves. We had a maid, cooks, drivers. If we weren't working, then we could do whatever the hell we want, like within reason. But it was a blast. Like being able to do that. Like I'm never gonna work for an embassy again in my life. I'm not gonna be a diplomat, right? So that it was just such a cool way to travel. And I mean, war sucked, right? I went to Iraq in '06. It sucked, but there were elements of it that it's like, damn, like that was an experience, and it's something that I would never get to experience again. And it was pretty cool.
That's one thing too that I miss about the service is I got to see Malaysia, I got to see Japan. Well, now we get to go to Japan still, but you know, in the Navy we travel port to port, which is a lot of fun. A lot of times, especially on aircraft carriers, unfortunately, they stay out for 3-4 months in the ocean at a time. You know what I mean? Without hitting a port, and then you pull in, and they're like, all right, 2 days here, we got to refuel and get some food on, and we're back out, right?
Yeah.
No wonder you crazy when you get to port.
Bro, so they have a rule. If you're out for 90 days straight with no port visit, they'll give every crew member 2 beers. So I spent a good $1,000 buying people's beer one night. But I mean, that's what you had to do.
Yeah. And we got to see some pretty cool stuff too. I mean, so when you're forward deployed, you don't actually go on like long-term deployments like the 9-10 months ones like other things do or other boats do. But man, we got to see some cool stuff. Like Malaysia was incredible. You pull in and it's just like nothing but small fishing boats and like islands everywhere, and the sun was hitting, and I was like, damn, this is so cool. But it's a Muslim country, right? So probably the thing that I remember the most, Kota Kinabalu is predominantly Muslim. And so I went to Burger King and I was like, yo, I'm gonna get a bacon cheeseburger in Malaysia and just see how it is. Well, they don't serve pork.
Yeah,
so
of course
it was
not.
bacon. It was bacon made of beef, and I was like, "Well, this is interesting," you know. But I'm never gonna go through that again. Like to your point, like I'm never gonna go to Malaysia, Kota Kinabalu, Malaysia, and have a burger. Or there was an Indian food restaurant that was like literally a hole in the wall. I'm pretty sure they beat the whole wall out of the way to make it an entrance. And we went in there and it's like heat lamped chicken and like naan bread, and they didn't speak English. I'm like hugging them. I'm drunk hugging them. Like, thank you so much for the food. And, moments like that, I'm like, man, that was so much fun, but I probably would never do that again. Or do I ever really want to do that again? Because I couldn't drink like that again.
Yeah. It was like doing the camel rides in Jebel Ali, and they bring you to some like water oasis, and we just drink beer. Yeah, we'll never do that stuff again.
Yeah, I've never done that, but that sounds dope.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Where in Africa? West Africa? Where was it? Djibouti or?
I was in Guinea for a year, and then I went to China, and then I went back to Niger, and I was there for a year and a half.
Dang, that's a long time overseas.
Were you comfortable in all those spots?
3 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I felt the most uncomfortable in China.
That's what I was wondering. I was like, where did you get like the vibe that you were the most uncomfortable?
Yeah, because it was China, because Chinese people, they didn't really like anybody that wasn't Chinese.
Huh.
Right. It wasn't like, it was weird. But if they were trying to, because at the Marines at the embassy, they have like people trying to get intelligence from you, so like they'll bring back pretty girls around and they're like, hey, my friend, like
sure,
I got no friends, like, get out of here.
You don't even know my name, bro.
Exactly. They're walking up to me in the gym, like, because we used to go to the hotel gym, and like they'll walk up to us and like, hey, my friend, like, yeah, right.
It's so funny when we pull into the Philippines. Did you ever pull into the Philippines?
Nope.
So the Philippines used to be a Navy base out there, and it's like OPSEC, like operational security, not for people not to know when we're pulling in. And bro, that shit don't matter. There's like vendors lined up along the streets waiting for us, like ladies at the end of the pier. They're like, I was like, who the hell? They know before we do. I didn't even know I was coming here. This probably takes weeks for you guys to set this up. I just found out yesterday I was coming here.
I think the most uncomfortable place I've ever felt is honestly when we go to Japan. Like we still go to Japan, because there's a lot of places that are like no American. Yeah. So they'll turn you away, or they have no American signs. Like that's probably
in Okinawa or
Japan in general.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because that happened to me.
You can even go to Tokyo and they have signage up. No Americans.
I was just about to say, I went to Tokyo and we were looking for like a steakhouse gentleman's club or something like that we heard about. And we get in the elevator. We're like, oh, this is the spot. It's on the 6th floor. We get in the elevator, right as the elevator doors open, there goes security crossing his arms like, nope. And we're like, all right, thanks, man. Close the door and go back down, find a different spot. Yeah, there's areas where it's Japanese only. They don't want any outsider, whether it's from a different country or Americans or whatnot. And what's crazy is I went to Hiroshima, and that was a crazy experience, man, because they have a lot of the stuff left over from when the atom bomb hit, and it was insane standing there because they show like when the bomb explodes and how far the radius was, and I'm like standing there, white man, like, all right. Japanese people staring and looking at me. I was like, no, that was a long time ago, bro. We good.
Nothing to do with that.
Yeah, we did the same thing. We were in Pearl Harbor, and they got the Pearl Harbor center you can go to there. So we went there, watched the attack and all that, and then we went straight from there to Japan. I was like, man, it was so weird.
Yeah, the vast difference of it. So, but you mentioned you've competed a couple of times. How do you feel about competing in jiu-jitsu?
It's like going on a deployment. It's like you train so much to do your job or to do a thing, and it's like you get to go test your skills. I like competing. I encourage my guys to compete, but it's like if you want to compete, But I think one of your questions on the thing was, when should they start competing? Now, I'm the wrong person to ask that because my coach threw me in the fire 2 weeks after I started training. And I had one good takedown and I got my ass kicked.
So I got to ask you, what's a walkover win? I looked you up on Smooth Comp, and it was like one win by walkover. I don't know what that is.
That's when the guy signs up, he shows up, he weighs in, and then doesn't show up to the mat.
Oh, do you think it because he saw you and he's like, nah, I'm good, bro.
He saw me heel
He's like, not today.
He probably see me heel hooking everybody. Because most of those that because I only have one match at black belt on smooth comp, but most of those was when I was a brown belt, and at my school everybody kept getting leg locked. So I started learning leg locks from my boy Tony, who actually he was my first super fight in no-gi, and I beat him by points on a takedown in overtime. But he tried to rip my leg off. So uh, afterwards, I was like, you gotta teach me leg locks. So I started learning, getting private lessons from him, and then I started learning leg locks and bringing it back to my school. So we're talking about April is when I started working with Tony, and then that was in January when I'm like, you know what, I want to go test my leg locking skills. So let me do an advanced tournament. Um, so I went did a new breed advance at brown belt, and I was I think I got like three heel hooks that day. Yeah,
Dang.
out of 4 matches. The first guy I went against, he was like, I beat him on points, and then the last three, no, I beat the guy by points, and then this guy got me in an outside heel hook, right? And I'm looking at him, and I just had a brain fart. I was just like, I'm looking at it, and like I'm seeing my heel just go pop, 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 pop,
Ugh.
and I was like, but I was so calm. I was like, tap, and then I just no expression, right? I just went to the side and I just sat down, and my coach is like, you all right? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And I'm just waiting, and I had no idea it was double elimination. So then they call me back to Drew back on the mat. I was like, oh, okay. So now for the first time ever, I pull guard, right? Because I don't like pulling guard, but I pull guard. I was like, I'm not sitting here trying to do takedowns with my messed up ankle. And then I end up ripping apart this one dude's knee because he didn't want to tap.
Ugh.
And I let it go the first time. I let it go because I grabbed it. I had him in the fully locked heel hook, and I just hear his knee going crack, 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 and I let it go. And the ref was, and he looks at the ref. I didn't tap, and my coach is screaming at me, "You should have let it go!" And I was just like, "But I mean, I'm at a new breed. Like this is not like IBJJF or ADCC. Like I'm not
Yeah.
gonna hold this
What the
and break
heck?
this kid." All right. And so then I was like, "All right." So then I get him in another heel hook and just cracking his knee, and then I just was like, I just let it go and I end up winning. And then and then I got the guy who heel hooked me. I got him back, and then I won the finals. So that day I was just heel hooking everybody. So.
That's so funny. Do you think that there should be a certain level of skill or knowledge before they learn something like a knee bar, heel hooks, toe holds, things like that, even wrist locks? Because wrist locks, if you react wrong, you're gonna break your own wrist in a wrist lock. You know what I mean?
So I have this saying in my gym is like I heel hook white belts because my white belts know heel hooks, right? So here's my theory behind it. I want them to focus on passing first, right, and get solid in passing before they start learning leg locks. But I'm not gonna keep the leg locks away from them too long. I think once you get to your second stripe, you already understand the concept of not ripping submissions,
Mm.
and then at that point, teach you a straight ankle lock. Right, straight ankle locks are cool. Then when they're around like 4 stripe, getting ready for their blue belts, then I'm gonna start introducing them to heel hooks because heel hooks will fuck you up. Now wrist locks, I haven't really taught wrist locks since I've opened my school. I mean, I've showed people things here and there, but I haven't really done it. But I'm also not opposed to a wrist lock.
So do you have
Yeah.
like a certain curriculum when it comes to your white belts? Like say you have a day one white belt. Are you teaching that? Do they have like a beginner's class in your school, or are they thrown in with the normal class and you just kind of pay a little bit different attention to them to make sure they understand it?
So just a little backstory. I got my black belt on a Wednesday, and then that following Monday, I started my school.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was a blessing. The only thing is that we were, Hard Knocks, where like all the UFC fighters were, like
Yeah.
Kamaru
Yeah,
Usman
yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff. All right, they all left and they started Sanford, so there was no jiu-jitsu program in that gym anymore. So I took over, right? So I brought my school, so I opened up my school under Hard Knocks. So the only thing that came with that is like limitations on the schedule. And now we're gonna end up we're taking more of the lease, like we have to pay more money obviously, and we're getting a better schedule, and we're gonna have a beginners and an advanced class. But right now everybody just gets thrown in the fire together.
That's all ours is. Everyone just gets thrown in together. That's fine.
I think it has pros and cons, right? I definitely see the benefit of a brand new white belt going to like a beginner's class, learning how to shrimp, break fall, right? Like knowing how to fall.
Yeah.
And then, the very basic things of like elbow escape, arm bars, basic submissions to understand like how the mechanics works of a body. But then again, I enjoy when brand new white belts come straight to us. Like they, you know what I mean? Because then they get to understand like the journey of jiu-jitsu. You understand what I'm saying? Like they're like, oh man, this feels like these guys are insane. But then again, you go back and forth with it. Like they could be like, oh shit, I don't want to do this, bro. These guys are just kicking my butt. You know what I mean? So what made you want to start doing a beginner's class for new people?
Because the me as a coach, right? I have to be mindful of who's in the room. So I have a bunch of purple belts on this side, right, that need advanced training. But then I got white belts over here that barely know how to shrimp, right? Barely know hip escape or anything. So, and then me, I want to show everybody heel hooks because I'm such a damn foot nerd. So it's like, and I've tried different ways of doing it, but like I've seen John Danaher teach class in half of a gi, right? So he's looking like he's in Sambo.
Yeah.
There's a no gi class going on over here, a gi class going on. He's teaching them this. He goes to the other side of the room teaching them. I don't know how to do that effectively. I don't. I understand my limitations. I don't know how to do that. So I need a beginner's class where I can be like, all right, I need to focus on just showing them the basics. Can't show them heel hooks in this class. And then the advanced class is like, all right, let's get into some nitty gritty. Like, because I've been in the game 10, like damn near 11, 12 years now. Like, I'm tired of showing people how to shrimp. You know what I mean? Like, I want to show them cooler stuff.
Yeah, we all started our school at the same time, so we all joined and basically day one, and so we all learned that the basics. You know what I mean? It was like, hey, here is a shrimp. It was like 2 weeks of like shrimping and how to use a shrimp in a roll, and it was like, okay, here goes an arm bar. You know what I mean? It's like very, very like systematic, and that's probably where I base my opinion on the most.
Yeah, I have seen some things though that I think to your point earlier when you're talking about leg locks and the ankle and all that. At our school, I think there was at a certain point they were like didn't want to show that to anyone unless you were at a certain belt level.
Yeah,
which I guess is great. But when I was a white belt in Japan, do you remember that one guy, no gi? We were rolling. He must have leg locked me. I don't know how many times so quickly. I had no defense for it. So finally, I had to tell the guys, like, look, man, you can do this the whole next half hour, and I'm not going to know how to stop you. But I was thinking in my head, I wish they'd went over that with me, at least on how to defend it when I was a white belt. Because especially in no gi, like, they don't care what belt you are. They don't even know. So I was like, man, I wished. And then we did toe holds once.
Yep.
And spent a whole week on toe holds. And then it was like, but you can't do that unless you're a 2-stripe blue belt. And I was like, then what the hell did we just spend a week? Like, I want to go use it right now. I'm never going to remember it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I use knee bars right now in open mat, like on brand new white belts, other blue belts. Like if I get a knee bar, I'm locking it in and going for it, or straight ankle locks, or I won't heel hook in gi. I train mostly gi, but like prison rules.
I've heard that before.
The thing about it is like you can't escape because the pants create so much friction. Yeah. And with leg locks, bro, to escape, you got to be spaghetti legging and trying getting your leg out of places. Yeah. So in the gi, it's prison rules.
Yeah. So we always hear this prison rule thing. This is a great segue. What are prison rules to you?
Well, I should tell you, the first time I heard it is I threw a wrist lock on our professor,
who's a black belt,
and I should say I had only rolled with him once before because I was working in San Diego and I flew back. And I was like, all right, I want to be respectful. I hate when I roll with a black belt if I don't know them because I don't know how hard I can roll. Like, if I go hard, they're going to be like, this dumbass blue belt needs to slow down. But I want to test it. I want to give it all I got to see what I could do. So I went light the first time, and he utterly demolished me. And I didn't like my showing. So in my head, I was like, if I ever get the chance to roll with this guy again, because he wasn't our professor then, I was like, I'm going ham. So I got to roll with him again months later, and I immediately threw a wrist lock. And he was like, oh, okay, prison rules. And then he beat the shit out of me the next 5 minutes. I was like, holy crap! I don't ever want to hear prison rules again.
So what are prison rules to you?
It's just heel hooking in the gi. Like I say it like being funny, but I don't know like there's like a group of people that are like, these are the prison rules. Like, nah. All I say is just don't heel hook in the gi, because that's a dick move. Like, but yeah, that's the only thing. Just heel hooking in the gi. I can't really think of anything
Oil
else.
checks.
Come on, man. Oh, I know people that when you're in 50-50, they stick their big toe in your ass, and just, like, hell, that's not cool, right?
We boys, come on, bro.
But my boy Jamie, he did a Leglock seminar at my school last Sunday, and he showed how to counter against that. But it's like, that's a dick move. That's prison rules for sure.
Yeah. They're like, hey man, that's a one-way street. Only leaving town. Get your ass. Leave that shit alone.
Yeah. But something I'm gonna ask you guys, right? Because talking about my reels, and I I did a remix of, you seen that one video where Gianni Grippo has a rear naked choke, and he was doing ADCC trials, and he jumps, and the guy he was on his back,
and he like slams the dude's head.
Yeah. So I created that reel with my cousin, right? And we reenacted it. And like when my head hit the floor, like I made it look like oh, like I'm pissed off now, right? Like I'm about to go fuck him up. So I was my question that I asked in the caption was like, should you always leave it to the refs, or when should you take matters into your own hands? Like, how would you handle that? Because I've seen people, like, okay, I understand we're grappling, and Gianni could have let go of the choke, but he didn't let go of the choke because he had a nice choke, right? He didn't want to win. But slamming somebody face first on the mat because you fucked up and you let your back get taken, I think that's just a dick move. Like, yeah, we're fighting, yeah, you know what I mean? It's a high level tournament, but I didn't think that was cool. I think that would, that would make you deserve a punch in the face or something.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's still, like, even though we're literally trying to strangle each other, I think there's some sort of like minimum respect that you should have for each other. Like, if someone taps, fucking let it go. You know what I mean? Like, even if like, I don't know, because kind of like to your point, like if someone doesn't tap and you're like cranking on their stuff, breaking their shit, and you're like, look, man, I'm not trying to like destroy your life for a $5 medal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think there's like a mutual understanding of like, there's like some sort of like personal respect. Like, you're a practitioner, I'm a practitioner. I'm not going to slam someone on their head. We're a community, right? Like, who wants to be known as, Orlando Sanchez, right? The guy that like almost broke what's his name's arm because he got the underhook.
Yeah.
Like, that's a dick move. Like, I wouldn't be down with that. And I would be thoroughly upset, like, if someone else, like, I'm not saying we have to be friends, but like, even if I don't know you, I'm not going to do like something that is like a straight like asshole move.
I feel like that's just all ego. Like, you just got way too much ego. Like, it's not in me to do that to somebody. But when I was at a competition last time, I did watch a guy tap, and the guy let go of his submission. The ref didn't see the tap. So the guy just, even though we all saw him tap, he ended up going through, like, the match kept going and ended up beating the guy. And the guy was like, he tapped. And we all saw him tap. And I was like, damn, but he was trying to be a nice guy and he let it go, So I was like, I don't know.
How do you handle that in your school if you see something like that happens? Do you kind of pull them to the side, or are you like, yo, Shark Tank?
That shit don't happen in my school.
Well, I'm just saying, you never know. What if like someone drops in, and then like, do you have like a gym enforcer if someone starts kind of bullying people, or
yes.
you know what I mean? Like, how do you handle something like that?
Oh yeah. I have my purple belt enforcers. Right. I got my cousin Devin, who's also my business partner, and then I got my other purple belt, Desi. They look like Bebop and Rocksteady, like just
wow.
big dudes, right? But really good at jiu-jitsu, and I was like, hey, he needs some discipline. Like, I just kind of nudge him in that direction. Or I got Big Greg, who's like a giant blue belt, strong as shit. Like, I'm like, hey, big, he needs. I just I just go right by him, and I'm like, hey, that guy needs some extra love. Make it extra spicy, And so that's how I handle that, right? The visitor comes, they're being a dick, they're gonna get one of the enforcers, and they're gonna get their ass kicked. Yeah, but I'm also gonna if they can't do it, like one time, like I think I sent Greg after somebody, and he was like he's gassed because
he's like, bro, I just got done. What are you doing, man?
And I'm actually gonna make a reel like this where at the end of Avengers, the second one, where Thanos like walks in and the thing opens and he puts his hand in the Infinity Gauntlet. He's like, I guess I just got to do it myself.
Yeah.
I got that. It's like, I'll just do it myself.
That's a good one. I like that. We'll release this after you post that one.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna do that. I'm probably film it tomorrow.
Yeah, that's funny though, because that's one thing we talk about is that, especially school owners, they talk about like, I have a good community. Like usually our students aren't like that. It's like, well, what about the new guy or the guy dropping in? Like, then what do? Do you just stop them and say, hey, we need you to leave? like no, I think it.
No, but I will kick somebody out, like, because these are my boy Gabe. He calls them his jiu-jitsu babies, and like that's how I feel. Like you as a professor, like these are your tribe. This is your family. Like nobody fuck. Like one time, my brother, they go to open mat and they in some brown belt like fucks him up, but he was just telling me just to say that the brown belt was like good, but like like he just messed him up. Like he didn't make it. He wasn't very clear on what he was telling
he wasn't
me.
He wasn't like crying wolf or like yo, that dude fucked me up, man. You should get him.
Get him. He just was like telling me just like general conversation, like, oh yo, that dude fucked me up. He did this, he did that, and me, I'm just like, all right. So I didn't say anything. I went to open mat that next Sunday. It was a Sunday, and I fucked this dude up, like wrist locking him, and
he's like, what are you doing this to me for?
And he was like, he kind of had that look on his face, like, what the fuck? Like, what are you doing? Right? And then my brother's looking at me like,
he's like, bro, stop. Yeah, that's funny. Hey, so when you do technique in class, I thought this was an interesting question, kind of to the point of like being a little rough. Our professor one time used me for technique in front of the class, and he was trying to prove a point on how fast a submission will come on. I think it was a bow and arrow choker, something from the back. And he's like, I need you to escape from this. And I was like, what? And then he puts me in the shit, and I was like, I'm like, oh. I was like, in front of the whole class. In my head, the first thing I thought, I was like, I wasn't teaching. Like, I wasn't doing anything wrong. Like, why would you go so hard on me in front of people? And he's like, I didn't mean to do that. I was like trying to show how fast the submission could come on. He's like, but you didn't do anything. I was like, you caught me off guard. Like, what did you expect? Like, so how hard when you're like demonstrating, like, do you have those moments where you're like, look, I'm going to actually put it on you so you can see, like, so everyone can see, like, the shit's quick. Like, you gotta make sure you move if you feel it coming. Do you have the moments like that?
So I understand what your professor did, but I don't go about it that way. But I understand it because when I was coming up, my professor used to be like super rough with the person that he's demonstrating on, and I didn't understand it until I became the professor, because you're trying to show the effectiveness of the move. So you're not necessarily trying to be a dick, but like you're putting it on, like especially when you do the rear naked choke correctly. Right, like the way that John Danaher shows it, where you're like this, and you pull the elbow that way. That shit sucks. It comes on fast, and demonstrating that is not a walk in the park.
No.
So you're just showing the effectiveness of the move.
Yeah, and that's what he tried to tell me. He was like, I was just trying to show everyone, like I said, and I was like, man, I'm not gonna lie to you. I felt like I was getting spanked in front of the class, like I had did something wrong.
I must have not have been there that night, because I would have loved that memory.
Yeah, I was like, everyone looking at me. I was like, a tear about to come out my eyes. I'm like, what? That'd be another good reel. I was like, when you get your ass kicked in front of everyone, I'm so sorry. What did I gotta make that. So how do you handle like when a blue or white belt in class is like trying to help? Like, let me rephrase it. How do you differentiate if someone's trying to help someone with the technique or trying to coach someone with the technique? You know what I'm saying? Question. Like, because there's plenty of times when like a white belt or blue belt is in class and they're like trying to critique how to do something. I'm like, that's borderline. You're trying to coach right now. You know what I mean? Like, how do you differentiate that?
Okay, so there's some white belts that I have, well, white and blue belts, right, that try to do that, and I talk to them to the side, right, because it's like less talking, right? Let me do my job, you know, and that goes into just being coachable as well, right? Because that's my biggest pet peeve is an uncoachable motherfucker. I cannot stand it. If I tell you that you're doing something wrong and your response is I know, it drives me crazy. It's like if you knew it, you would not be.
It sounds like my 13-year-old son. I'm like, you don't know. That's what I'm telling you.
Exactly. Right? But there was one day that I had one of my blue belts. He was getting prepared for a competition. So he was on like the airdyne and then he'll jump on the mat and he'll go, right? So one of my white belts, he's a competitor as well. And he has good initiative, bad judgment. Like he loves jujitsu, always sending us memes and shit, and like always like he's really into it, right? So he means well. Right. So he's like, hey, don't do it like this, do it like this. And my blue belt was like, yo, with all due respect, shut the fuck up. And I all I could do was laugh because I'm like, yeah, he shouldn't be coaching right now. Maybe not the best thing to do as the leader, but I didn't care. It was real. It was like, man, like he probably should shut up right now.
I mean, sometimes that's just you just gotta be blunt with it, right? Like because now I'm pretty sure that person would probably never ever one coach that person again, and then two to like second guess, like, am I about to get told to shut?
I'll tell them all. I have white belts ask me, hey, can you? I'm like, bro, don't ask me. I can't teach shit. I don't know shit. I'm still trying to learn shit. Don't ask anyone else but me.
Yeah.
Even our the guy that owns our gym be like, hey man, can you help teach the kids class? I'm like, no, I can't. Like, I can't teach anything. I know my weaknesses and I'm not a good teacher. Sorry.
Shit, we do the 3, 2, 1 clap, and I'm already forgot what I was supposed to be doing. I'm like, oh fuck, I'm in class. You expect my dumb ass to teach you how to do that? Oh, that ain't gonna happen, man.
You'd like me as a student. I tell the professor, I'm like, look, man, you got to talk to me like I'm a dumb motherfucker. Like, break it down even more. Move my arm where you say it needs
Arnie
to be.
style, baby.
Yeah. Grab it and put it where it's supposed to be.
I get it. I get it. And also, even though I'm the professor, right? I understand that there are some people in there that do things better than me. Like Desi, he just loves the darts choke, right? And that's his focus. He can darts people from just about anywhere at this point, right? If somebody asks me how to do a darts choke, go ask Desi. Right? Because I understand, like, he understands darts chokes way better than I do. Go ask him. So the being coachable thing is like I'm a black belt and I'm still coachable. Right? And he's like, you never get rid of that, like that yearning to learn. Like you're always a student. That forever white belt mentality, like I get it. Because you always want to learn, and if somebody could do it better than you, learn from that person. It doesn't matter what belt you are.
Yeah, the last guy we just talked to, he spoke about that. He's like, it doesn't matter what your experience level in jiu-jitsu. You could be a coral belt or a brand new white belt. If you talk to each other long enough, there's going to be a moment where both of you learn something, right? Because there's things that people forget as a black belt that are day one brand new for white belts, and they're like, hey, so why don't I just do this? And you're like, oh shit, I completely forgot about that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, why don't I just stand up?
Yeah. That's why it's cool to like. Granted, sometimes you want to stay away from the bigger white belts, the spazzy ones, a couple first dayers because you don't want to get injured. But also, they're going to give you a different look, right? So, and also speaking about that, right? You're gonna like that same concept. We had this one white belt when I was a brown, and this dude loop choked the shit out of me. And I was like, what did you just do? And apparently, his first night, he learned the loop choke, and that's all he practiced and all he did every single time he showed up on the mat. Because we were mostly gi school. My school right now is no gi school all day. You might as well be 10th Planet Fort Lauderdale. But anyways, he just was loop choking everybody. So I was like, yo, like, how did you do that? And he broke it down for me. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, if you focus on one technique like that,
you'll be an assassin.
So you can learn from the white belt too.
What is Bruce Lee's quote? I don't fear the man that practiced 10,000 punches. I fear the man that practiced one punch 10,000 times. Right? Like, But then again, I feel like if you just like I talked about this with one of my buddies. Like, there's some like blue belts out there that'll have like black belt technique of like an arm bar or something. But the
Yeah.
second they're out of their element, it's like, well, it's easy game. Just don't put them in their element. You know what I mean? Well, it's easier said than done.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? But you were talking about how Desi is the Darce guy. At what belt are you throwing them to that person if they are, that person? You know what I mean? Like, if it's a blue belt, like a experienced blue belt that just happened to be good at north-south chokes, and you're like, look, that dude crushes with north-south chokes. Are you still going to throw him to the blue belt even though he's a blue belt?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Because you've attained a level of mastery with that technique, and you have something to show us all.
That's smart.
And with that mentality, your ego doesn't get wrapped up into the rank. Because especially when I was in the Marine Corps, like, I understood that you have to respect the man first, right? I'm dealing with grown people here. Now, also from the Marine Corps, there is a rank structure, right? So I do believe like sometimes I gotta check people, because I'm not the like a dictator type at all. I like to laugh and joke and smile and make jokes, but like, I can't just have you like, hey Drew, like, yo, you better throw a coach or a professor in there. Sometimes, like, understand, like, yeah, we're cool, but I'm still a professor. I still put the time in on these mats to be respected as such.
No, I completely agree with that. Yeah, absolutely.
How do you work your promotions? Do you do like a test structure, or is it just you think someone's ready?
I could just I could do it the way that I do it now, because I have a small school. So I see it. Like, you just see when they evolve. Right? I just look at them. Like, my brother, for example, he was a blue belt for a while, but he has attendance problem. You know what I mean? He shows up sometimes. All right. He's the talent that refuses to work hard. It's funny. I have my brothers that train jiu-jitsu, right? I have two. One of them is the talent that works hard, and the other one is the talent that refuses to work hard. Right, but the talent that works hard, he's my white belt. Like, he's gonna be one of the best white belts in the world. Like, he has a double leg to a Darce. That's nasty. Can't beat me though. He's gonna be good. I got some really good white belt competitors. I got 3 that are just monsters. So what the fuck was I gonna talk? I forgot what I was gonna say. What were we
promotions. How do you do your promotions?
Oh, promotions. Yeah. So I see it. So my brother, he's a pro belt now. He went to Texas and he came back, and he just started to chain techniques together. So I seen him go from like guillotine to triangle to omoplata, back to triangle, trying wrist locks, like, constantly. And I was like, I seen it one day and I'm like, what's going on here? So then I see him. So I start rolling with him, and I'm like, he's like tapping my head and like, making feints and stuff. And I was like, what you gonna do besides piss me off right now? And next thing I know, he grabs my like wrist and pulls me, and like, he gets an inside trip, and that's my takedown. But the way that he set it up was completely different from the way I do it. So he took me down. I was like, oh shit.
He's ready.
Right? So I'm like, okay, like, that was another thing in my head. And then I just kept watching him, and he kept over and over just being consistent with that constant attack. And so it's like, I seen his evolution. So it's like, he's a purple belt. You know what I mean? I can't take that away from him. He's a purple belt. So that's how I do promotions right now. Like, I could just tell. And especially if you go to competition, you start murdering everybody. And then we got visitors that you're murdering. It's like, all right, you're getting promoted.
Oh no, the competitions, and when your students are getting ready, do you feel like they should always hunt the submission and then win by points on default? Or, well, like, what's your mindset there?
Yeah, yes. I agree 100%. Because remember that first match that I told you about, where I just took the dude down and he destroyed me? All he kept doing was getting in half guard, knee sliding out, and getting right back into half guard, knee sliding out, going into mount, let me get my half guard back, knee slide. That's all he did. So he had like 30 points.
Boring.
But it was like boring as hell.
I thought that was go ahead. No, I thought that was interesting, because when we were getting ready for a competition, the build up to it, was a lot of points. They were like, all right, we want you to hold this for 3 seconds, hold this for 3 seconds, hold this for 3 seconds. And in my brain, I was like, I don't want to worry about holding anything for 3 seconds. I just want to get the submission. Like, that's all I wanted to do. So I get it. I find it interesting to hear how people go. If they go in with the mindset of get the submission, and if you win by points, that's great. But always try to hunt for that submission.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no debating if you got submitted or not, right? Like, there's that meme going around where it's the guy talking to the chick. He's like, well, technically I lost by points, but you know what I mean? It's like you're always trying to justify it. You get your ass choked out. It's like, no, I lost.
Yeah.
He bettered me. You know what I mean?
There's no debate.
Right. So what does that look like in your school? Say you have a student that's getting ready to compete. What does it look like for your build up with them? Are you like coaching them a little bit more like, hey, this is what I'm noticing? Or is it kind of like you structure the whole class towards it? If you have multiple people, how do you do that?
So let's take the class, for example. We'll Shark Tank them. Like, we'll condition them. We'll get them conditioned with everybody, right? Hard competition training. And then I see what they do. Like, my white belt Luke, he got these big old flippers, right? He has these big ass feet that he'll sit guard and he'll just wrap them around the back of your knee and then somehow ends up in ashigarami and leg locks you, right? And if you happen to escape that and he ends up in close guard, he's gonna triangle you, right? So he's just dangerous. So it's like, all right, bro, don't even worry about like trying to pass no guard. I mean, if you're up and you need to pass, like, I mean, pass the guard. But understand, like, don't sit there and try to wrestle with people. Sit down. Put the flippers where they need to go. Get around me, like, and he's undefeated in competition. I think he's like 7-0 right now.
As a white belt? Nice.
Yeah. And he looks good, you know. So with that being said, it's like me as the coach seeing what they do well and just having them double down on that and then taking them through sequences like, okay, what are you focused on? All right. Then I see them do it, make some tweaks and, and then, just coaching them mentally, right? Because it's like, I don't like it when I hear people like, yeah, we're going to war, right? Because like, we've been to war before. That shit ain't fun. It's fun. Right. And then I think it puts you in the wrong mindset because like if you're thinking about a war, that's life and death. And if you go into a jiu-jitsu competition, life and death over a little $5 medal is not worth it. Right? It's like go out there, have fun, test yourself, give it all you got. And once you step off those mats, win or loss, we're gonna love you anyway.
Yeah, what's the saying? You either win or learn or whatever. How do you feel about that saying? Do you think that, or do you like you absolutely lose? Like you should take the loss on the chin and then learn from it.
No, it's you win or learn.
Yeah, that's interesting to me. It's like because even in class, well, there's no someone once told us like there's no win or losing in class, right? Everyone's there learning, like, but competition is where you like win or learn or whatever, like.
Yeah.
So if you have someone in class that's like going a little too hard or they have an ego or they're, getting down on themselves because they're not making that progression, how do you coach them to be okay with that then?
So like a person that's like down, like they feel like they're in a rut.
Yeah.
I just tell them like to find something new that gets them excited. Like that's what I do with myself. Because you think like just being on the mats for so long, like you need things to constantly keep you excited. Like it's a relationship. Like you have a relationship with jiu-jitsu and you have to water it and nurture it just like any other relationship. So it's like, let's say like with Lucas, for example, how his thing is straight ankle lock and triangles. Like, all right, well, what is an arm bar and an omoplata look like for you? You're about to get your blue belt. All right, so let's start incorporating heel hooks. Like, go start watching all these heel hook videos and, just get excited about learning something new because that's how you get over plateaus.
Having a goal, right? We always talk about people, blue belt blues are just because you have a lack of direction. You feel like you're comparing yourself to other people and whatnot. But if you start setting small incremental goals, you can start overcoming that. Like, I just want to learn to heel hook. I just want to learn to 50-50
retain my guard.
Retain your guard. I mean, that's probably my biggest thing right now is in class, if we play like open guard, I'm like, this motherfucker's passing this shit real quick.
Bro,
like, I am terrible at this shit.
I hear you. Yo, all you got to do is just remember, if they get your head, you're dead.
That.
Right? All you do is, like, when they're coming around, for the most part, they just want to get your head with their biceps. So you just gotta just post on that. So you post on the bicep and just make sure that they don't get your head, and then, like, get your frames. And then one thing that Gordon Ryan says to do is, like, instead of pushing your frame into them, you just go up towards your head. It makes them real light.
Oh.
So if you just so the way that I coach my guys is, like, I'll have them grab the bicep and then let the person on top fall into their frames, and then just push them up and then get your knee in. It works. Damn, it works every time.
Right.
And so, like, if you're trying to pass my guard, I'm not worried about shit. I'm just looking for your arm, and I just post on it.
Well, I hope nobody listened to that.
I was like, that beautiful thing about doing this podcast, we get privates all the time,
we're
bro.
Gonna edit that. We're gonna edit that part out and just keep that to ourselves.
This is not going to be the Instagram reel that I'm. So we mentioned earlier about, speaking of Instagram reels, like, you've been posting a lot of reels, and then I read your descriptions whenever you post one, and it kind of goes into, like, how to grow on Instagram and social media. You want to go a little bit deeper into that? Like, what makes a good reel? Starting off, like, what makes a good reel? Because you have some goddamn good ones. I'll tell you that. There's some of these are hilarious, man.
Thank you. So the number one thing when it comes to a reel is to be yourself. Okay. So I know one of your questions on there was, like, should, like, white and blue belts be showing techniques on Instagram, right? Yes, I do show techniques in my reels, but I said in one of my captions, yo, you don't go on IG looking to learn jujitsu. Like, if you really want to learn from a video, go invest in the money and go buy John Danaher or Gordon Ryan's DVD, right? You're going to get the most in-depth information from that. They're going to break it down Barney style. Me, you're going to come to my page for entertainment, the main thing, right? I like to be funny. I like to be fun, and so the number one thing is just to be yourself, right? Which is why, like I'll be acting and I'll just be doing stupid shit. You know what I mean? My girl's triangling me in that last one I did
Yeah,
today,
I saw that
right?
one. Yeah.
Yeah, I have fun because I like to have fun. So it's like I love jujitsu and I love to have fun, and that's the most that you're gonna get from my reels, right? So be yourself. The second thing is use trending audio, right? And you know what the trending audio is, like, by on the bottom left corner where it has the song, you'll see the little music icon or an arrow pointing up like this. If there's an arrow pointing up like that, that means that there's a lot of people using it. That means that it's trending, and it'll give your video a chance to get more views, right? So use a trending audio or an audio that fits your video perfect. So the one I posted with my girl with the triangle, it has like 26,000 views, and it's only this is it hasn't even been 24 hours, right? It's spreading like wildfire because the Stevie Wonder song, I can't, it isn't she lovely,
Yes.
right? It's like, here she is trying to strangle me. It's like, isn't she lovely, right? For whatever, the song just goes perfect with it. The people liked it, so naturally they're gonna interact with it more, right? Because you want to get people to interact with your stuff, right? So you can have a reel that you like, right? That you just love, and you post it, and it gets like 200 views. Right? It's like, wow, right? Then you have a reel that, like, you don't even like, that you just did because you had to post something, and next thing you know, that thing has like 300,000 views, and you're like, holy shit. Then you get the ones that you like and the people like, and that's the gold. Because I have a video that has 1.7 million views right now.
Dang.
Yeah, and it was just me doing a skit from the Chappelle Show where he's like, I'm one of the baddest motherfuckers alive, one of the best singers, hold my drink,
Yeah.
bitch. And I did it, and the caption I used was like, when you get your first stripe on your white belt, something like that. And I had a bottle of water in my hand. I got my belt tied all fucked up, like I put a white belt. Right, and then when it's like, hold my drink, bitch, like I put the water bottle. Yo, that thing. First of all, I was the one that put that audio on Instagram. So it's like this is like Drew Phoenix original audio. Like I took it from YouTube, I put it on Instagram, and you know the thing that gets people to share, right? It's relatable, okay, but also nostalgia. Nostalgia is like jet fuel onto on relatable shit. So that Chappelle show is like we all remember the Chappelle show, we all love it. So not only does that video have 1.7 million views, but it's been a trending audio for the last like 2 months.
Dang.
Right. So whatever I did, like that video right there is a perfect example. Like I cracked the code with that one. Right. I'm trying to figure out how to reinvent that, but it'll come, you know?
It's funny because one of the reels I recently saw I thought was freaking hilarious. I think actually it's someone at your gym. She was like taking someone's back and she like hooks their arm and she's like, I'm just gonna scoot in here. And then she like scoots a little bit closer. She's like, "We've been trying to connect with you about your cars."
Oh no, that was me.
Yeah, that was so freaking funny, man. I told my wife about that one, and she's like, "I don't really get it." I was like, I know you don't really get it, but it's jiu-jitsu and it's funny."
And I put like when you catch a troll in real life, right? Because people could relate to that. It's like, yo, like if you, like some of these internet trolls be brave. And it's like, yo, you could tell you were bullied in school. Like you're hiding me, no posts, no nothing, no picture, and you're just sitting here talking shit.
Kevin Holland just took up I don't know if you saw it, Kevin Holland from the UFC. He just took up a troll that was DMing him like, "Why you dodging me? You may be a black belt. I'll tap you." Blah blah blah.
I love that.
And Kevin Holland said how'd it started, and then went to like a video of them in a cage and no-giing it up and just choking the shit out of this guy. Right? And he's like, "How it ended?" I was like, "Well, you gotta understand, like some people are the real thing. Like you could try to be the internet tough guy all you want, but
yeah.
But when it comes time,
I had a troll yesterday. Was like, oh, you'll still get stiffed in a real fight though, and then I just said pull up,
right.
You know, I tag my school. Like I tell these, just show up. Like you want your ass whooped that bad? That's what we do.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sit here and get into the fucking battle of words with you on the internet. Like you could show up, you sign the waiver, we could go.
It's so funny you mentioned that because we had a buddy who was a senior chief. He's an E8 well, he's a master chief now, but at the time he was an E8 in the Navy, and he was at our school. And he was going to like the end of the day meeting with all of his sailors, and he's like, "Hey, so this is how it is, blah 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 blah. And if you have a problem with that, you can meet me at Pacific Northwest Jiu-Jitsu at 6 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays." And the motherfucker showed up, got his ass whooped. Never
straight up.
Yeah, he showed up though.
Yeah, he showed up, and he was like, "All right, senior, I'll catch you later, bro."
Yep. Show up, sign the waiver, and we could handle this like some grown ass men. Like, come on.
It's funny you mentioned the internet trolls too, because I follow Mason Fowler, and he talks about all the time. He's like, "Yeah, I have like white belts, blue belts with like BJJ in their tag, talking about how I'm doing like my technique's wrong. Like, I will literally murder you in real life." You know what I mean? Like, how soon should someone put BJJ in their tag on Instagram?
I don't know. I don't even have BJJ in my name. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's. I see what he's saying though. Right, but I think the BJJ thing, because I think Jiu-Jitsu Dummies asked this for somebody too, and it was like, I don't know, man. Like I don't have it in my name. So it's like the boots that get the Marine Corps tattoos in MLS school. It's like, what are you gonna tell them? They're in the Marines. They're a Marine. You know what I mean? They could get their big old eagle over an anchor. You know, like it's one of those things. I don't know. That's somebody smarter than me.
It's funny you mentioned that too, because in the Navy,
I see you wearing those with those big old tats, and I'm like, I don't know, man. That's the same thing that comes on my computer screen at work. You know when you log in.
Wait, what? What are we talking about?
The tattoo. Think about, when you log in.
Yeah.
So
Navy,
when we log in at work,
where'd your mind go?
No, look, we're civilian Navy, right? So when we log in at work, they have the big Navy anchor.
Yeah.
And I see all these sailors walking around with the same tattoo. I want to be like, look, man, I can't believe you got that tattooed on you.
Well, in the Navy too, what you do is you'll get on the inside of your hand, between your pointer finger and your thumb, you'll get your like job logo, right? When you hit like a certain point. I'll see people coming out of like boot camp, like finishing A school, and they're getting their logo tattooed on the inside. I'm like, dude, you haven't even finished your first contract yet. Your ass about to get kicked out for this. Like, then what are you gonna do? You ain't a lifer now. So, but I think Instagram right now is, especially with Reels, even Instagram talks about how big they're blowing up because they're trying to compete with like TikTok or whatever. Do you have a TikTok and do you reuse yours through all the platforms?
Okay. So good question, right? So now going back to what you said about about the Reels, do not use your TikTok videos on Reels. Because Instagram is in direct competition with them. So if they see the TikTok watermark, you're not going to get that many views. Because the thing about Reels is Instagram is trying to find content for their audience, not an audience for your content. Okay? So when you look at it from that perspective, what it does is it shoots out your video to 50 people and it sees what it does. And if people save it, saving is number one. And I want to caveat real quick. Stop asking your homies to share your shit, right? If anybody is listening to me right now, like I absolutely cannot stand it. And it's not that like I don't want to support you. Like, yes, I want to support you. But the numbers that I'm doing, I have not asked a single soul to share my shit because it's like a challenge for me.
Same.
It's like if I do a good enough job and it's relatable enough and I got all the things checked and people really feel it, they're gonna share it. I don't have to ask nobody to do anything. They're gonna share it. Right? Now, if you want to like drive up your interactions and you really like want your homies to support you, what you can ask them to do is just save it. Because none of us go back to our save thing anyway, right? So if you want them to save it, because saving counts towards the most. Like let's say like there's like a scale of like how much things count, like likes or like nothing. Like they're like, yeah, they're good, but they're not nothing. And then comments, and then it shares, and then it saves. Right? Because for whatever reason, Instagram wants you to make savable content. Right. So stop asking your homies. Ask them to save, but focus on you and making good content. People will share it. Strangers will share it. Right. So it goes out to 50 people. See how they interact with it. Then it goes out to 100. See how they interact with it. And as long as then it like pushes out to 500, then 1,000. Like as long as people are interacting with it, the numbers are gonna go up. Right. Now, another thing people have to be wary of is hashtags. Right, the days of using 30 hashtags are not here anymore.
Yeah, who uses that many hashtags anymore?
Right? You notice my reels, they have around 5. Okay, because you're confusing the algorithm. You just like how we're in like you guys are in the podcast niche, right? So the first thing you need to be hashtagging is hashtag podcast. Okay, and then that's probably gonna have like millions of videos on it, right? So hashtag podcast, hashtag JiuJitsu podcast, then hashtag JiuJitsu, hashtag MMA, and then hashtag whatever the fuck the video is about, or veterans or whatever. You get what I'm saying? Like the first 3 have to be niche specific. They don't always have to be the same, but the first 3 need to be niche specific, and then the last 2 very general, right? You can do whatever. Like this one, you could say like Marine vet. Like after your first 3 main ones, you could say like Marine vet and like black belt or something like that. But stay away from like the hashtag for you page and shit like that. Unless you're on TikTok. But if you're on Instagram using the hashtag for you page, it's not really gonna do nothing for you. You're just gonna confuse the damn algorithm.
So in our I feel like our reels, I usually do I try to make them kind of, maybe I over edit them because I try to make them like 1 minute long YouTube videos. You know what I'm saying? Like with like B-roll and funny accents and text on screen and stuff like that. And I feel like some of ours I mean, the highest I think we have is like 6,400 views and it's like almost 100 likes, which for us is like dope. Like it's good for us. But I'm like maybe people aren't interacting with it because it's not as relatable. I'm trying to do like a podcast clip in a reel, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, well, maybe I'm just over editing it. Maybe I should just leave it as cut out the ums and ahs and the spaces and just leave it at that. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to figure out how we can do ours better too.
Or you could do that, add captions, and make it short. Right? Like you notice the one I do with my girls is like it's extremely short. And so like bite size, like you want like 7 seconds is like the magic number, right? So it's like me like saying like my white belts no heel hooks. I heel hook white belts because my white belts no heel hooks, right? That's like a nice little sound bite. You make a reel with that. You hashtag it, get your 5 hashtags. Write like a caption that's gonna get people talking. Like should you teach white belt heel
I'm gonna have to
hooks,
clip this real
and then
quick.
just send it out.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? That's a good reel for you guys. Just send it out just
yeah.
like that. I teach my white belt heel hooks because my white belts no heel
Yeah,
hooks.
I watch a lot of like videos on YouTube and stuff like that talking about like how to grow your because of Instagram Reels and like we keep talking about Instagram Reels are the new big thing right now because they're trying to compete with TikTok, so they're really promoting them quite a bit. And they talk about how you should do native aspect ratio. You shouldn't do like a 1080p. Like if I were to take the video and it's black space above, black
Oh,
space below, you know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't
yeah.
fill the screen. They talk about you're like completely lost right
I'm
now.
like, man, you just keep talking.
But all this like plays into it. It's just a very interesting topic to me.
Yeah. So my girl helped me out with that one because she was showing me how like when you have the black bars and people are scrolling, right? Your video doesn't like the black bars are there, so it's easier for them to just scroll right past it. When it's taking up the whole screen, it's like they're scrolling, but they're looking, and you have a chance to catch their attention for a longer period of time. I mean, it's a couple seconds, but it's better for the user to catch
Yeah,
on
and
to your
it's like
stuff.
it shows a little bit more effort in my eyes too. Like you're not just like copy and pasting and putting it out there. It's just to me, you know what I mean? Like it
Yeah,
shows a little bit more effort. And I think I put too much effort in our reels, but some of them I think are freaking hilarious. I'm like, this is great because it's all just podcast clips. But I'm like, this makes
yeah,
a good thing. Like the biggest one we had for a while was talking about how jiu-jitsu belts are irrelevant, and that got people kind of fired up. You know what I mean? They're like,
yeah,
excuse me, my blue belt means something. I'm like, it doesn't.
yeah.
And like,
That's awesome. What did the Gracie say? Is like the belt only covers 2 inches
yeah,
of your ass. You need to cover the
yeah,
rest.
yeah.
Yeah, for
And,
sure.
and another thing is we have a YouTube video right now that's at like almost 13,000 views on YouTube.
Nice.
And you know what it's about? About how stupid jiu-jitsu warm-ups are. And dude, people like they're
I
going
think
like,
that one's got the most conversation around it.
bro, it has also almost like 200.
That's the
It has like
key.
almost 200. And I also reply to every single comment, whether good or bad. And
Yes.
but it has like almost 200
Yes.
comments, right? Even on Instagram, I reply to every single person, whether they're trying to troll or whatnot. Um,
Yeah.
and dude, like people are like going to war in these comments about jujitsu warm-ups. Do you let's I just want to ask this question. How do you do your warm-ups? Is it like jiu-jitsu specific or is it like
is it a CrossFit workout or is it jiu-jitsu? That's what I want to know.
are we doing 600 push-ups if we drop in? Like I ain't trying to do that shit, dude.
I actually overheard my purple belts.
Also, they were skipping warm-ups. I like it's a universal thing.
They love me because they was like, man, Drew doesn't even do warm-ups. Like, so they show up to class on time because I do warm-ups with jiu-jitsu. I don't for a beginner's class, like yeah, you should be shrimping and rolling and doing all that craziness. But for the advanced guy, it's like, bro, if you don't know it by now, you're not gonna get it. So let's just focus on jujitsu. You know what I mean? So I'm not a warm up person, but I have a female black belt at my gym, right? And she teaches, and she's very traditional with like her style. Like she makes them run, and she makes them. But she took over all my gi classes, right? Because fuck those phenomenals, right? She took over all the gi classes, right? And so when you have the gi on and the belt, like it's more traditional. So yeah, like warm up and do that craziness in the gi. But when you doing some no gi, man, go warm up with some like Leglock drills or some wrestling, and do something
Bro,
fun.
that's like a deciding factor for me now. I'm gonna go watch warm ups. Do I want to go to this place or this place? Like that's where it's at.
When we were in Japan,
Oh, I'd hook you in quick.
when we were in Japan, the purple belt that was leading the class, he was like, "Look, if you guys want to warm up, you should probably show up 15 minutes early because we ain't doing that shit. We're jumping straight into technique." And I was like, and so when we came back to America, the homeland, I'm sitting here running 1.5 miles in a circle doing 30 push-ups.
I'm like, fuck this.
I'm like, my fat ass tired as hell now, bro. And then people in the comments, they're like, oh, I'm 55 years old. I need my ass to warm up. I can't just jump straight into technique. And I'm like, well, show up early to class. Someone did not like that. Let me tell you, I told someone they need to show up earlier to class, and they're like, do you know what I do for a living? Like, no, I don't actually. To me, I need as much practice as possible when it comes to technique, and every little bit to me counts. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have ADHD. I barely pay attention half the time anyways. Like, doing a podcast, doing a podcast is hard as hell. Like, I'm like sitting here trying to focus, like, but it's like, I need as much practice as possible, and doing like an arm drag to like a back take or passing the guard, just slow, like Toriando passes or whatever. To me, that shit like works great. Like, I feel super warm by the end of that, or like knee slicing or whatever. But there some days, like, our school is a traditional warm up. It's because Cody, the gym owner, he owns the other side of our school, which is a CrossFit gym, which started everything. So he's big into fitness, and so we'll do running around the mats. We'll do like a 10-minute warm up, and I'm okay with like a 10-minute warm up. That's not too bad for an hour and a half class. It's not too bad. But man, I've heard some horror stories.
Well, my favorite warm up that we've ever done is Sean had us roll for the first 20 minutes of class, 5-minute rounds. That was my favorite warm up I've ever done.
And you get it out the way because you know how you're always like just ready to roll, right? And so that was one thing that I learned. I forgot who I learned that. It was somebody on YouTube that talked about that. I was like,
I felt like I was in mental zen.
So sometimes what I do, and sometimes what I do is I'm like, I'm forcing you guys to roll light. So you catch something, release it, and just flow through the position. Flow. And granted, I got to repeat myself 1,000 times while they're trying to do it, but it actually gets them the flow roll and gets them to warm up, and you got the roll out of the way. So now they're more receptive to the technique. They're not just looking forward to rolling. So there's genius in that.
Yeah, people talk about how you need to warm up because I don't like this argument, but they talk about how you need to warm up and you need to get tired before class because that way you focus more on technique when it comes to rolling. And I understand what they're trying to get at, but I don't know, I feel like you shouldn't have people doing 100 push-ups, 600 sit-ups, like that. There's a little bit of
make you do 50 arm bars.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, that's the best workout, workout I've like abs, hips. I'm like, bro, I'm about to go wash some clothes on these things. You know what I'm saying? Oh, my dog just came in here. What's up, dude? That's my dog. Hold on a second. Let me get him out of here. Hey.
Oh, good. Go. Hey, so while he's away, I'm gonna talk about something else with the reels. Right. So hopping on trends. Right. So you see. So I was just talking about another thing with the reels while you were gone. Hopping on trends. So there's trends that you'll see, like you'll be doing on the explore page or the For You page on TikTok, and you see people doing the same kind of video over and over and over and over. Right. Incorporate those trends in your niche. So my first video that got over 100,000 views, it was a trend where you know that song, "There's Somebody That I Used to Know."
Yeah, Gaio, I think it was.
So so the beginning of the song, it goes dun 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 dun. So the trend was like looking like you're making your eyes move, right? So my thing said when you ask how a black belt looks when you ask them to roll. Right, so I was like, dun, dun, like just sizing them up. Yeah. People got so pissed, but what I did is I knew that was gonna get people pissed off, right? And then I just made sure in the caption I was like, yeah, but I don't do this at my school, but it's an old tradition. Like, what do you guys think about it? Is it really disrespectful to ask a black belt to roll, right? So you have people trying to light me up in the comments, and I'm just like, read the caption. Read the caption. That's not what I do at my school. Read the caption. read the cat all day. So it just drove my interactions through the roof, and it got up to like 207,000. That was my first one to really hit, and yeah. So the premise of that is like I hopped on a trend, and I made what I did with the trend. I made it like controversial, because these social media platforms love controversy because it drives
Yeah.
interactions through the roof. So what you guys did, so what you did with the warm up thing, you know what I did with the whole belt thing. Like we start touching on those topics, and people like get people fired up, and you hop on a trend. Like your views are gonna shoot through the roof.
Yeah, that one was really funny. I shared one today, and it was like black belts in 2022, and it was like, "Hey, professor, you want to roll?" He's like, "Yeah, by all means, man." And they roll, and the white belt catches him in the armbar. He's like, "Man, you're getting so much better." And it's like asking a professor to roll in 1996. It was like, "Hey, professor, you want to roll?" He's like, "Do you see what's around my waist?" He's like, "I'm gonna make you regret ever asking me." And he's like, beats the shit out of this white belt, and he's like, "Don't you ever ask me to roll again? You know who I am? I'm your professor." And I was like, man, I've heard some horror stories. Like
Yeah,
people were actually like that back in the day, but it's relatable, right? Like it's
yeah, that's
yeah.
how I
Oh,
came
really?
up.
That's how you came up too? You don't ask a black belt to roll?
Let me have asked Cyborg to roll. You would have whooped my ass. Like, you know what I mean?
You're like, no, I'm not gonna do that with you. I'll choke you. I'll choke you for 5 minutes straight. How about that?
Yeah. But then, like, when I hit like high level blue and purple, I used to walk by the higher belts and be like, I'm not asking to roll. I'm just in
I'm
this
just
You're like
available.
area.
stretching. All of a sudden, you're like,
Yeah.
hey, you guys got anyone?
Yeah. But now, no, I don't do that. Now, like in my school, the way that I run it is like, yo, like you have the first right of refusal, right? Somebody asks you to roll and you don't want to, like, if they're a higher belt, like because most higher belts, like they're trying to get ready for competition or whatever, or like their body's broken and they're not gonna really want to roll with like the super spazzy white belt. Like that's cool. They have first right of refusal. But that whole like it's disrespectful to ask them to roll, it's like, yeah.
That's something I never even knew about when I first joined. Like, there's some traditions that I still hold that we learned when we first started. Like, I turn my back to my instructor when I'm tying my belt, bow on and off. You do that too?
No,
Oh,
that thing. So that came up, right? Because remember, the female black belt in my school, Juliana, somebody was tying their belt like facing her, and she was like, "Okay, guys, like I know you guys don't really like not too traditional here, but if you go to another school, you have to turn your back to the instructor while you're tying your belt." So then, me and my cousin, or no, me and Desi, I think we had a conversation about this, and it was like, okay, like I understand that's old tradition, but wouldn't it be more disrespectful turning your back to your instructor?
it's true.
Like I would consider that more disrespectful. Like I'm sitting here talking, you're turning around to tie your belt. Like nah, right?
That's a good
So,
point. I didn't even think about
but the
that.
bowing on and off the mat thing, yeah, and the bowing off and on the mat thing, like I think like that's good.
Yeah. I've seen some schools where they talk about you have to have rash guard, long leg rash guard, long arm rash guards, no talking, like a whole bunch of like crazy things. I'm like, man, I would get kicked out of this school so fast because I'm like you, I'm joking. Like we start warm ups and like, damn, this shit sucks already. Like right behind my professor, you know.
I think the most vocal thing we saw, and that's old school, and I've only seen it maybe once or twice,
Oh
is
yeah,
no rolling near a high belt.
or
Like
moving out of the way for a higher belt.
like I've literally seen class stop so they could yell at them for being near them.
Do
And
you
I was
yell
like,
higher belt if a white belt, two white belts tap you? That's the real question. Are you stopping and you
no.
looking at them like higher belt? Get your ass out the way.
I don't know what I say. I say this is what I do. I'm a dick. I'm like let's say with one of my like purple belts or something. I'm like, hey, black plus purple equals get the fuck out of
There
my
you go.
way. Right? So I do that, and then if they say, and then I'm like, if you don't like it, get promoted. Like I use
Yeah,
that one
that's
too.
funny.
But I do it as like more of a joke.
Yeah.
Like as long as we're being respectful, I'm gonna joke. It's when the line starts getting blurred and they get like a little too like I have to check them. But other than that, like I just tell them, hey, black plus blue, just get the fuck out of my way.
Yeah, I joke around now. I'm like higher belt. You see these two stripes on me, bro? You better get out my damn way. Like I don't even care if you have another
That's
blue
right.
belt. Move.
Yeah.
So, But hey, John, you got anything else for Drew?
Real quick, do you watch movies? Are you a movie buff or anything? Have you watched the Art of Self-Defense on Hulu? You got to watch that.
Oh man,
it's a dark comedy and it's got a lot of jiu-jitsu in it. You got to watch that one.
Dude, it is so funny
because you're gonna watch this and you're gonna remember this podcast, and then you're gonna go watch it and you're gonna be like, I want to come back on just to talk about this movie.
It's a martial art movie that makes fun of like all the stupid traditions we have in martial arts. It is so freaking funny, man. It's really good, especially when it comes to promotion. There's a whole scene in there.
The whole time we're talking to him, I was like, God, I hope he's seen this movie. And if he hasn't, I have to tell him to go watch it.
Wait until promotion night in the movie. It is hilarious, man. It's really good. So, Art of Self-Defense. It's really good. So,
Art of Self-Defense.
Nothing else.
Hey, Andrew, I just want to thank you, let you go. We've been going at this for a while now. Holy crap, I didn't even realize it, man. Time flies when you're having fun, right? Yeah. You get to connect with like-minded people and have some good laughs. My face kind of hurts. I'm going to have to like stop smiling so much. So, hey, if people want, absolutely. If people want to follow you and see these fantastic reels that you create, where can they find you at?
At Drew_Phoenix on Instagram, or just Drew Phoenix on all the other platforms. I got a YouTube that I got too. Just Drew Phoenix. Drew Phoenix everywhere. DRU and then PHOENIX. That's where you can find me.
Make sure you save all this shit.
So I don't want to forget.
Save all your
I wanted to tell him your name reminded me of someone local to Washington, and you'll probably want to Google this, but we had a amateur MMA fighter that used to dress up like Batman. And he was the Phoenix, and he would go and intervene in Seattle and stop crime. So he did this for 2 or 3 years, where he's like straight up patrolling Seattle.
A real vigilante.
Yeah, this is a few years ago, and like whooping ass on the streets of Washington. But you should look it up; it's pretty funny.
Jiu-jitsu?
Yeah,
he was. I don't know if he had jiu-jitsu. He was an amateur MMA guy, but he was a big guy. So you should look him up.
He retired and the Chaz happened, so obviously he was doing good for a little bit. But hey, Drew, thanks so much again for coming on the show today. Thanks, John, for hanging out. Man, it was a blast. I can't wait to see all the interactions with this one. Probably some people are going to light up the comments on it, but
let's go.
So
trolls, I'm waiting for you. Let's go.
So thank you guys for at home for listening and watching, and remember, no oil checks here.
Don't close the browser.
Don't close the browser yet. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. And no heel hooks in the gi.